we had two discussions that we do every week, and Professor Remo asked us how and what would we do if we didn't have technology or have the communications that we have now, and how our world would handle it. Well, the way our world would handle it now is they would be absolutely 100% paralyzed, because with the way that people do business all over the world when they're flying, they're driving, you know, and even our cars are so intricate with our communications, you know, like, you know, with your Mercedes, and we have our Chevy with OnStar, it's just so easy to push a button or to, you know, text someone. And also the other thing that he gave us something to really think about was, you know, with our communication and conflict, this all actually really all goes into my presentation, is the fact that when you see families, you know, when you're out to dinner and you see families that are on their cell phones, you know, and they all sit down and they're all on their cell phones and they're not having that verbal communication, you know, like we did growing up. I grew up in the 60s, you know, I was born, you know, in the 60s, but then in the 70s, we didn't have the cell phones. We didn't have all that we have nowadays. It's just right at our disposal. And I just think that I wish that we could, as a society and a nation, or even a world, could just go back down to basics. But I truly believe that people would have breakdowns and just not be able to cope with the fact that they don't have their phones or their things, you know, laptops, tablets, cell phones, you know. It would be very hard for people. In fact, when in one of my discussions, which was a couple weeks ago, you know, they asked all the students, you know, well, how many devices do you have in your house? Well, I honestly put that we have 2 cell phones and 2 laptops. And I even said in our discussion, I said, you know, with communication, my husband and I eat dinner at the table. Well, when he works at night, but when he's home for dinner, we sit at the table face to face and we talk about our day, and we put phones down, TVs off, and no music, just it's on each other. And the same when we go out to dinner, it's on each other. And sometimes, you know, and I said in my discussion, you know, we sometimes don't even bring our phones out here, which we should in case something happens, but it's just, you know, we don't want to be paralyzed by electronics and having to just worry about having it all the time. But now that we don't have a landline, I'm trying to, you know, it's just difficult. Okay, sorry, my head's moving. Arbitrator. Okay, so coming from the quotes of Julia T. Woods, Communication Mosaics, Chapter 7, again, page 141 again. Arbitrator stands for an outside, a third party who has the authority to make a decision on a conflict between 2 or more people. So, our court systems, often based on arbitrator rulings, such as with Black Lives Matter, again, they tend to be biased with decisions in ruling for either side. It is difficult to rule sometimes on either side when the parents of these young African Americans commit crimes and they are completely in the wrong and say that their son would never do this. They're such a good person, but yet they have a felony record and have been in the system for committing some of the same crimes. It's very difficult to justify why this should be an arbitration situation if it is just a black and white scenario.
Sure.
Flaming. Okay, so quoted from the Communication Mosaics, Julia T. Woods, page 143, chapter 7, excessively insulting another person online. This is where I was talking about hiding behind our technology, often using language that is derogatory or obscene. With flaming, there are so many ways to describe this. People definitely hide behind this with social media. It is often used as a scapegoat to express their personal opinions. Can you fix that? Without directly coming in personal contact with another being. It can also be used as a form of accountability and personal interactions. This is in regards to Black Lives Matter because of the excessive problems that we have now in our society, which is racially oriented and motivated. It is inflamed and people are just now reacting instead of looking into the real problem behind the social media, which is very damaging. Individuals don't think about the damage it can do when it comes to social media. The obscenities that are used online and the derogatory remarks are very long-lasting and are not forgotten. The news media tends to only show the negativity when it comes to the police departments, which cause a flaming situation, and people just think that it is all law enforcement are damaging and are out to make a power statement, which is not true in all aspects of how you perceive it. Now, we all know that there are some police officers in our society that are and do hold power trips and have a super superior complex. But the percentage of African Americans that are in the prisons, like stated from the very beginning when I worked out at the prison, was higher than some of the Spanish gentlemen that were in there. It's when you see stuff on the news, I'm not racist in any way, but I'm really not. But when you see on the news when a lot of the African Americans are the ones that are committing these crimes and have records, it's really hard to maintain a perspective in what's right and what's wrong, and it's hard to talk about it with other people because sometimes they don't understand it. The end. I want to thank again the Aragon family for allowing us in their home on Sunday, August 12th. The time is 7:43, and this closes my presentation for Communications 203.